Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Excel. Today, I'd like to talk about a tool called Consolidate. In Excel, we can very easily combine multiple separate worksheets into a consolidated summary. And what Excel will do is it will take your number data and perform some sort of calculation on that data and give you basically a total on your consolidated summary. Okay, so it takes all that number data, and let's say you want to add it all together. It will add up all of those worksheets and then give it to you on one consolidated sheet. You can even combine several workbooks, separate files, into a new summary as well. But today we're going to keep it a little simpler and just do separate worksheets. Okay, so what we have in front of us here is a pretty simple data range. In column A here, we have three types of classes that we're offering. And then the rest of the columns, we have the months of the year. And it looks like, so what we're tracking here is the monthly attendance for each class. Okay. And you'll also notice that down here, follow my cursor here, I have three separate tabs for three separate worksheets. So it looks like I have 2018, 2019, and 2020. So what I've done was I've just created three worksheets, and I'm just pretending that I'm tracking these totals each year. Okay, and I've just broken it down into each year by each worksheet is broken down by that specific year. Okay. Now, when we're talking about consolidating, it's crucial that every one of the worksheets you select is formatted identically. Okay, so what I mean is, you'll notice that as I click on each one, so here's 2018, here's 2019, and here's 2020. Okay, so you'll notice that all of these are set up the exact same way. Cells A1 through M4 are used to keep track of this information. And also my labels are all identical as well. Okay, so that's key, because if something's off, or if you do something differently in one but not the others, things are not going to sort of transfer over correctly. Okay, it won't work quite as accurately as it can. Okay, so again, it's crucial that each data range is formatted identically. Okay, so before we go ahead and consolidate these three worksheets, and basically what we're going to be working towards is a 3-year total for all of this information, because we have 3 years down here. So let's say we want to combine it and get a 3-year total. So before we do that, let's just get a little more information in here. So first of all, let's say I want the total attendance for each month, and let's say I want the total attendance for each class. Okay, per year, per worksheet. So let's go ahead and get those set up. Let's get those labels set up. Now, before I go ahead and type total here and total up here, in N1 and in A5, I want to show you one thing, and this actually kind of relates to the idea of consolidating. I can actually do things like formatting and even applying formulas. I can do them to multiple worksheets at once, and it's very simple. I basically just need to link the worksheets together. So because we want it to be identical, so it would only benefit us to do them all at the same time to ensure that we're doing it the exact same way across the board. So all you need is that handy control key in the bottom left of your keyboard. Okay, remember CTRL, that's your control key. Now follow my cursor here. I'm going to go down to those tabs again, and I'm going to hold down the control key. And as I'm holding it, I'm going to click on the 2019 and 2020. And you'll notice I'm going to let go of the control key because I'm done. And you'll notice that each of those tabs is now underlined. Furthermore, if I go up to my title bar, you will see that it says group. Okay, just another indication that you've grouped multiple worksheets together. Okay, so we've basically linked three worksheets. Now, whatever I do in one, will take place in the other two. So I'm going to go to cell A5 and type in my first label for total. And remember, this is going to be, in fact, let's do monthly total. There we go, because that's going to be our monthly total. And I'm going to click outside of that and just quickly come up here and resize column A. And again, that will happen across the board. Now I'm going to come over here to N1, and I'll type in class total, because this is going to track the total attendance per class. And that looks good. I'll press enter and save that in there. All right, so remember, our 3 worksheets are linked. So not only are the labels going to transfer to all 3, but any calculations we do, that will work as well. So let's do class total first, since I'm over here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just use that auto sum method. So I'm going to click on cell B2 here with my white plus sign. That's the select cursor. I'm going to click, hold, and drag across row 2 up to N2. Now I'll come up here to my home tab, to the editing group, and I'll click on auto sum. Okay, and now I'm just going to click on cell N2, so that's my only active cell, and now use the fill handle and apply that to the next 2 classes, 1 and 2. And you'll notice a little delay in the numbers totaling. That's because those worksheets are linked together, so it just kind of creates a little bit of a lag in terms of processing that information. So now we'll do the monthly total. So in this case, we're going to be working by the months. So I'm going to start here in B2 again. I'm going to select B2 through B5. Remember, you want the white plus sign. So again, I'm going to use the auto sum up here in the editing group. And there it is. Now I'm going to click on cell B5. So that's my only active cell. Now I'll find the fill handle, little black plus sign, and just apply this. Okay, and I'm just going to go up to M5, let go, and there's that little delay, and now all those numbers are totaled. So now, if I go ahead and click on 2019 down here, you'll notice everything has applied across the board, our labels and our calculations. Okay, so it makes it it's much more efficient, a lot quicker, and again, it ensures that all of your data ranges are identical in terms of how they're formatted. Okay, so now we can go ahead and create a consolidated summary. So I'm selecting the 2020 sheet here because when I click the add the new sheet button right here, it's gonna automatically put it after the tab I've selected. So I'm going to click on this now because I'm going to put this consolidated summary on a blank worksheet. In fact, I can double click where it says sheet 6 here. Yours might say sheet 2 or sheet 4. It will probably say sheet 4, but I just was doing a couple things before. That's why mine says sheet 6. Don't worry about that. Just double click on it, and I'm just going to type in consolidated summary, and I'll press enter and just save that. Okay, now all I have to do, it doesn't really matter. I'm just keeping the A1 cell here active. I'm going to go up here to the data tab and click on data. And you'll see a data tools group. And one of them right here says consolidate. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So it's giving us a few things in this dialog box. First of all, as a default, the function is going to be sum, which means it's going to add up any numbers you have in your other data ranges, in your other worksheets. So we'll leave that alone for now. Now, next is reference. And if you did the, before we've done, in other videos, we've done something similar to this where we can select data ranges, for instance, in VLOOKUP, okay? This is a pretty similar feature. So what I'm gonna do here is, it's asking me to basically, it wants to know what data ranges it wants me to incorporate. Okay, so that's what I'm going to select now. So I'm going to click on this little selection tool, and that will that dialog box will collapse temporarily. I'm going to come down here and then select my data. So while that's collapsed, I'm going to come down here and click on the 2018 tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start right here in A1 with my white plus sign and just highlight the whole data range, including that empty cell in N5, just like that. And you'll notice, if you look at the dialog box, it's populating that information. It says 2018, which is referring to the name of the worksheet, and then the actual cell references that you're selecting, A1 through N5. So I'm going to come back over here and click on this little selection tool again, and this will open back up. Now I must hit add right here, or else it won't do anything. So I have to hit add. Now it's adding it. Now I want to add more worksheets. So now the nice part, again, since it's identical, all I have to do is come down here and click on 2019 for my next set of data, but I don't have to highlight the data range again, because again, it's going to take the it's going to take that identical data range, A1 through N5, and if you look here, it says 2019 A1 through N5. So now all I have to do is click add. Now, last but not least, I need 2020, so I'm going to come down here, click on 2020, look at the dialog box. It says 2020 A1 through N5, so I click add. Okay. Now, last but not least, you'll see use labels in top row, left column. That's referring to your column labels or your row labels. Okay. You definitely want to transfer that, so I'm going to click on both boxes. All right. Create links to source data. This would allow you to see the breakdown for each and every worksheet, the original data. In this case, it can be a little confusing, so I'm going to leave that alone. Okay. And last but not least, just to point this out, this browse button is where I could go if I wanted to actually browse for other workbooks in my PC. Okay, and I can actually combine entire workbooks. If they were formatted identically, I could do that. But since we're just dealing with the worksheets, we are all set here. So I'm going to click on OK, and there's my consolidated summary. All right. Now, a couple things real quick. I'm just going to very quickly open up these columns because you can see some of them are a little bit cut off. Now, a sort of quick way around that, if you come up here to the top left corner, and click on this little sort of arrow or triangle in the top left corner, it's going to select the entire worksheet. Now, once I open up one column, it's going to do it to all of them. So I'm just going to open up column A, and that's a little too much. I'll come back. Much better. There we go. Now I can see everything, and I have a lot more space to work with. Good. Okay, now last but not least, you'll notice that the class label from cell A1 did not transfer. That's because there was no numerical data underneath of it. Okay, because Consolidate only works with number data. So since there was no numerical data underneath of it, it didn't really treat it as a label. So it didn't really know what to do with it, so it just kicked it out. So I'm just going to click on A1 and just retype class and then press enter. And now we're all set. So what it did was it actually took, for example, for the knitting class for January here, it took each total from each year. So 19 plus 21 plus 24 and gave me 64. Also, so it did that for each class for each month. Also, since we already calculated the monthly totals for all the classes, it also added those up as well. Oops, sorry about that. Looking at this right here. So 2018, it took, excuse me, so for the month of January, 51 plus 57 plus 66 and gave me 174. And of course, last but not least was our class total. So for the knitting class, 2018 was 245 plus 269 in 2019 plus 305 in 2020 to give me a grand total of 819. So what it did was it consolidated not only the labels in this information, but it actually totaled everything for me. So now I have a nice 3-year total for all of my data. And that pertains to each class per month, each monthly total for all the classes, and then for each class, but 3 years worth, okay, to give me a grand total per class. Okay, so we can also, for example, since I have all these nice totals, let's say we want a 3-year average. So it's pretty simple. I could just kind of switch out the function. So first thing I'm gonna do here is select, I'm just gonna select this data range just to ensure that the summary just kind of kind of applies right over it. Now I'm going to come back up here to the Data Tools group and click on Consolidate. And just to be safe, I'm going to just delete these and just redo them again, just so you really get the practice. Now, the only thing I'm going to change, though, is under Function, I'm going to change that to Average. So now, let's just do this again to get the practice. I'll click on 2018, highlight the entire data range, A1 through N5. Open up, click on the Selection tool, come back to this dialog box, and click Add. Now, going down here to 2019, click it. Remember, we don't have to select the data again. I just hit click Add. Come down here and click on 2020. It says 2020 here. I know that it's applied, so I click Add. Now I click on OK. And there is my consolidated summary, but with averages. So now I have a 3-year average for all this information instead of a 3-year total, which could be very helpful. Okay. Now it just so happens that these worked out to be whole numbers. Now the ones that are not whole numbers, if I want to change those to whole numbers, remember we just have to format this to a different number style. So I just need to get rid of the decimals. So I'm going to select these cells that have all these multiple decimal points. Looks like B2 through M4. I'll go back to the Home tab. I'll click on the little dialog box launcher here in the number group. Give it a second to load. I'll click on number from the category and just go to 0 decimal places and click on OK. And now I have all whole numbers. Okay, so that was just a kind of a brief lesson in the practice of consolidating. Okay, again, we took multiple years worth of data, and as long as all those tables or data ranges were formatted the same way, we were able to consolidate them and combine them into a consolidated summary. Whether you can add them up, you can average them, and you can do other calculations, whatever you need to do. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Good luck if you try this on your own. Thank you for watching, and take care.